All right, I came upon this article at Bounding into Comics, which brought to mind a great many things concerning the Universal monsters, which quite a few are actually, yeah, they're public domain characters like Frankenstein's monster and Dracula, of course. But other things like the Mummy, well, that could be anything, you know. I mean, they have the rights to the first movie that Boris Karloff was in, so I guess that version of it. Which, yeah, he was supposed to be Imhotep in that as well, I think. And then I think it was the Hammer films. He was called Carice or whatever. And then, of course, many years later, they did the Brendan Fraser movie where that mummy was also Imhotep and all that. So anyway, that's what Universal has rights to and that sort of thing. But one of the things they owned, lock, stock, and barrel, was the creature from the Black Lagoon, the Gill Man. And some time ago, of course, when the shared universe was all the rage, thanks to Marvel, Universal announced, okay, we're going to do the same thing with our Universal characters. So you would have crossovers with Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, and all that. And so they and they had attempted this a couple of times. I believe Dracula Untold was supposed to start that. It didn't. I can't remember if the Wolfman they read. I remember there was that's too long ago. I think there was a Jack Nicholson thing, but anyway. But then they came to the Mummy, and that was an Alex Kurtzman project, and of course it all crashed and burned, despite having Tom Cruise in the movie. The movie in and of itself is not horrible. It's just rather pointless. It borrows heavily from the Brendan Fraser films from the 90s, somewhat. It's more of a horror movie than that one was, which is odd because they were selling off this idea of Dark Universe as a more action adventure than horror, which was a mistake. Because for one, they'd already done it with the Mummy, and successfully with those 90s movies, the first two. Then after that was it. They did some spin-offs, and it didn't work. But obviously they wanted their own superhero franchise, but the only IPs they owned outright were these classic monsters and all of that. And I think the mistake they made is that they're very much all seen as period pieces. And it's stuck in those bygone, because even when they were done way back when, in the 30s and whatnot, it was still set in a past period than the contemporary times. The only one that was really completely contemporary for its time, they were talking the 50s, was the creature from the Black Lagoon. And I thought, wouldn't it have been cool had they recreated that, and that the only modern day story would have been this one, and there would still, of course, creatures like the monster, Frankenstein's monster, and the Mummy, and Dracula, of course, could all be immortal, so they could still be around or revived or what have you for whatever, crossover story that they wanted, and they still could have achieved that. But it was all slap job together, and a bit of a mess as to how they did it, and with Dr. Jekyll being sort of supposed to be the Nick Fury of this universe, I guess. But yeah, I just couldn't get it off the ground. So apparently, but now this doesn't really fit in with that. That's the most recent effort. I mean, The Invisible Man was redone with Elizabeth Moss. I have not seen it yet. I guess I'm just sick of Elizabeth Moss. I don't know, she's a good actress. She was very good in Mad Men. I've passed on The Handmaid's Tale because I did not like the original, because I'm not a fan of sexist, bigoted propaganda. So, and you say, well, yeah, but the performances in the story, yeah, I'm sure you can do that. At least with Handmaid's Tale, that's what it is. That's what it always was. It's not some property that someone took and then, perverted it into something else, which is what happens to everything else. So I can say that for it, but sorry, I'm just not interested. So I was a little put off, probably, so I admit, unfairly, about that. So I'll get to it eventually. But I don't think that they're pursuing their shared universe thing out of that. Maybe. I don't know. It was popular, so you can call that one a success. You can't call The Mummy a success. So anyway, this is about James Gunn. And the article goes into the details and all that. And I'll link it down below. But apparently someone asked him, I think this was on Instagram, I believe, and if you could do a remake or Universal monster movie, which one? And he said, I tried to do Creature from the Black Lagoon right after Dawn of the Dead. So this is a really long time ago. So it had nothing to do with Dark Universe and all that. But anyway, he wanted to do a remake of that, but they didn't want me to do it. So it's kind of odd that this IP has remained dormant for a very long time. They go into other franchises that have been influenced by it, like Kamen Rider here, all that, and then and truly the closest you get to a possible remake is this Shape of Water deal, where the girl actually does have feelings for the creature. But that's about as close as you could get to it, even though this is obviously not the Universal property. You have to call it something else. And apparently Peter Jackson had toyed with it, but he went off and did King Kong instead. And the only last appearance we have is, of course, from Dark Universe, which is in Dr. Jekyll's museum that he had, where he's introducing Tom Cruise to the whole secret organization that he has that monitors all these monsters. And oh, look, there's an arm floating in the, I don't know, formaldehyde. So, but it was obviously a little Easter egg for what they hoped would be a potential film. I seem to recall that Scarlett Johansson was being approached to be in that and all that. I don't think she would be the monster, but maybe. No, I think she would be the girl in the bathing suit, and why not? I know she's putting shade on that type of stuff, but good Lord, come on. So that's it. All went to crap, but Creature from the Black Lagoon would have been an interesting thing. They're now revisiting these things because, hey, it's what they got. And Invisible Woman, it was mostly about Elizabeth Moth and the Invisible Man, but Invisible Man was a success, so they're like, well, there might be something here. And so now apparently there's rumblings of a new Dracula movie starring Benedict Cumberbatch, which that sounds pretty good. I'm assuming he's playing Dracula. But to be directed by Chloe Zhao. Well, we'll see, but that Eternals thing looks like a disaster. But a Dracula movie she might be able to pull off. It's a whole other different type of deal. And so perhaps, just perhaps, there could be a Creature of the Black Lagoon revisit. Because, good Lord, Dracula has been done how many times, Of course, again, it's a public domain character, so if you want to make your own Dracula movie, go at it. And Frankenstein, of course. And werewolves, you can't call it Wolfman. That's Universal's property. But werewolves, yeah, you can do tons of those. But Creature from the Black Lagoon, yeah, we don't get a lot of that. And he's just got this very distinctive look. It's really cool, even though it's way back in the 50s, and yet, damn, that's a cool looking creature. Probably the best of the batch. And so, could it be possible now that James Gunn is a hot property with the Guardians film, and now he's Suicide Squad coming? Which, again, I don't know if I have as bad a feeling for it as I do the Eternals, but I gotta say, those trailers, even in the second one, I just don't see anything there, which I was surprised. But maybe it's gonna be good. But usually, the trailer's supposed to show the best stuff to lure you in. So, but we'll see. So if it remains a hot property after that, and then he's got a third Guardians film they want him to do, maybe, just maybe, if he's still interested, a new Creature from the Black Lagoon could be on the horizon at some point. So there you go. And Universal Monsters just has a soft spot for me in my heart, and I am somewhat disappointed that the crossover didn't happen. There's always Monster Squad and Abbott and Costello, stuff like that. but someone who actually was interested and had an actual vision. Kurtzman obviously doesn't have a vision of anything. Could have pulled that off, and but it just didn't come to fruition. So, meanwhile, there is another shared universe of horror called the Conjuring universe. It's the only other successful shared universe franchise besides Marvel. So, it's not impossible. Although I imagine Creature could be somewhat expensive. Yet again, though, the suit looks really cool. And you just make one of those and put your stunt guy in it. Find some lake somewhere and have at it. Well, anyway, so maybe, just maybe, the Creature will rise again. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com, and you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh my goodness, so many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.